Leaving her family back. What are you talking about?
Jerk, you bum. You scum. You're an idiot. I hope you rot in hell for what you did.
On the morning of December 21st, 2021, a group of family members and friends were moving along the edge of the Rumney Marsh Reservation in Saugus, Massachusetts, not because investigators led them there, but because they had spent 2 days doing the work themselves. They had tracked a phone, they had retraced steps, and then, near the northbound side of Route 107, one of them spotted something on the ground. A purse. They doubled back, and that is where they found Sherell Pringle. She was 40 years old. She had last been seen alive, leaving for a date with her boyfriend 3 nights before. At first, authorities described her death as suspicious. Within days, it would be clear this was no longer a matter of speculation. A jury would spend 4 years arriving at that same conclusion. You're watching Morbid True Crimes, psychological true crime documentaries. Like, subscribe, and share for in-depth stories that uncover the mind behind the crime.
There was a large crime scene here along Route 107. The body was found in a marsh by family members who were out searching the area. They say they were driving by and saw what they believed to be the victim's purse, so they pulled over to get a closer look. And that's when they say they saw from a distance the body. The body has now been confirmed by the district attorney to be that of the missing woman, Sherell Pringle.
I just saw a group of people looking over with a woman's pocketbook at their feet. They were looking over. They had their phones out, videotaping and I'm assuming taking pictures. They yelled to one of our employees to call 911 that they found a dead body.
The case centers on Sherell Michelle Pringle, a 40-year-old woman who lived in Woburn, Massachusetts. Those who knew her described her consistently. A hard worker, an involved mother, and someone who called her family every single day. Sherell had earned an associate's degree in business before going on to complete a bachelor's degree at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, with a concentration in fashion design. For more than a decade, she was employed at the Steward Medical Group in Watertown. Her brother Diocius Wesley described her as a great parent, a great sister, and a woman with a bright future ahead of her. Her mother, Pearl Garner, said they spoke every morning just to say good morning, and then again multiple times throughout the day. Sherell had a teenage son, Jimani Larion, who lived with her. He was 19 years old at the time his mother disappeared. The two were close. The family as a whole was close. At the time she went missing, Sherell had recently put an offer on a home. That offer was accepted after she was already gone. It is the kind of detail that does not easily fit into a case summary because it sits just outside the frame of violence, a future she was building at the same moment someone was ending it. Nothing about the ordinary texture of Sherell Pringle's life suggested what was approaching in December 2021. She was going to a date. She had told her mother where she was going. She was expected home. Bruce Maiben was a 44-year-old man from Lynn, Massachusetts, a city located roughly 10 miles northeast of Woburn. According to records and accounts from the time, he and Sherell had been seeing each other for only a few months before the events of December 2021 unfolded. On the surface, Maiben presented a particular image. His social media activity was well established, and notably, he regularly posted about missing women on his Facebook page, awareness content, flyers, warnings. He had developed a visible online presence around that type of advocacy, which meant that when Sherell's disappearance became public and Maiben shared her missing person flyer to his own page, no one immediately found it suspicious. He had done it before, many times. To anyone scrolling past, it looked like the same pattern of engagement they had come to expect from him. The post drew no immediate alarm. It drew shares. It drew people trying to find her. The family, meanwhile, was not operating under that same impression. From the beginning, from the very first morning, Sherell did not call. They knew something was wrong. Pearl Garner, Sherell's mother, said afterward that her daughter would not go a single day without making contact. Not one day. The silence that followed Saturday night was not a gap in communication. It was a rupture in something that had never broken before. What was not publicly visible at that time, but what would later be documented in court filings, was that the relationship between Sherell and Maiben had taken a dangerous turn in the days just before she disappeared. According to prosecutors, less than a week before the night of December 18th, Sherell sent a series of text messages to a close friend. In those messages, she told her friend she was done with Maiben. She had made up her mind to end the relationship. The reason she gave was specific. Maiben had broken into her home and threatened her with a knife during a prior argument. That incident was the line. She had decided she was leaving. This was not a passing frustration communicated in the heat of the moment. It was a reasoned decision communicated to a trusted person in private. Sherell identified what had happened, the break-in, the knife, and named her conclusion clearly. She was done. That message was sent. It was read, and Sherell was still alive when she sent it. There is no confirmed record that Maiben was made aware of those messages, or that Sherell communicated her decision to him directly before their final date. That question, what Maiben knew and when, would become a central point of contention during his trial years later. On Saturday, December 18, 2021, Sherell Pringle was last seen by her mother, Pearl Garner, between noon and 2 in the afternoon. Sherell was wearing a green hoodie. She told her mother that evening she was going on a date with a man she had been seeing, Bruce Maiben, of Lynn. Her mother noted it. It was a routine conversation. Sherell called her family regularly every day. That was simply how they operated. That Saturday evening, Sherell left for her date with Maiben. The details of where they went and what they did that night have not been fully disclosed in public records. What is confirmed is that the two were together. By the family's account, the last known communication from Sherell to her family was before she left for the evening. By Sunday morning, December 19th, Pearl had not heard from her daughter. That was not normal. Sherell would not go a day without calling. Her son Jamani had been home the night before, and his mother had not returned. He waited. He tried calling. There was no answer. Maiben's account provided to the family was that he had dropped Sherell off at her Woburn home between 3 and 3:30 in the morning on December 19th. Jamani was categorical in his response. That was not true. He was home at that hour. He was awake. His mother never walked through the door. The story Maiben was telling did not match the reality inside that house. By Sunday evening, Jamani filed a missing persons report with the Lynn Police Department. He also went to the Woburn Police Department that same night, arriving at approximately 7:45 in the evening. Pearl Garner, who lived in Brockton, reached out to Brockton Police and was referred to the departments in Woburn and Lynn. The missing persons report was now in the system. Law enforcement was aware. And by Jamani's own account, he told investigators from the very first day exactly what he believed. They needed to locate Bruce Maiben. He asked them to ping Maiben's phone. He told them where Maiben lived. He gave them the name. He gave them the city. He said, "Find him." Jamani did not wait on a response. He began pinging his mother's phone himself and traced the signal to a location in Lynn. The phone was inside a catch basin, a drainage sewer on the side of a road. He called the police, who eventually responded and retrieved the device. The phone had been discarded. It was not at her home. It was not in Woburn, it was in Lynn, Bruce Maiben's city. The phone had not simply been lost, it had been placed there. On Monday, December 20th, the family and Sherell's friends continued searching on their own. They had tips, they had locations, and they said they were reaching out to investigators. They described receiving little back. In a later statement, friends Troy Moore and Dante Webb said they kept reaching out to law enforcement and were not hearing anything in return. Sherell's brother, Diocious Wesley, was direct. He said the family had enough information on a motive and that the police did not act fast enough. They procrastinated, he said. That frustration, the sense that the official investigation was not moving at the pace the family believed the evidence warranted, would become part of the documented record of this case. On the morning of December 21st, Sherell's family and friends returned to the Route 107 corridor in Saugus, an area they had been canvassing using the information they had gathered themselves. They had worked backward from where the phone had been found, retracing what they believed to be the route. It was Dante Webb who spotted something. He said, "I think I see a purse." They doubled back. Near the purse, in the marsh along the northbound side of Route 107, in the Rumney Marsh Reservation near the address of 63 Salem Turnpike, they found Sherell Pringle's body. Her family found her. Not investigators. Her family.
The family says they were the ones doing the investigating and wish it was the police instead.
We call each other back and talk on the phone maybe 3-4 times a day. And now
She didn't deserve this.
A heartbroken mother and brother.
Very caring.
definitely
a great
people
parent.
person.
A great little sister.
Both have been looking for 40-year-old Sherell Pringle since Saturday night, when her son told police she did not return to her Woburn home.
My son found her cell phone in a sewer. Okay? He had to call the police station. They had to come out. They couldn't get it open. The next day, they had to come out with somebody to open it.
After the family found her phone, they shared her story all over social media and began their own search.
They were out driving because somebody had a feeling that she would be out near some water. They were driving. They happened to make a U-turn and come back, and they seen a purse. They seen a purse. So they parked the car and they walked back up where they seen it. And there she was. There she was. The police didn't find her. The police
The family found
The
her.
family found her.
They found Pringle's body just under 72 hours from the time they say she was last seen alive. The family says they want police to investigate the last person she was known to be with.
They had enough information for a motive. They did not execute fast enough.
The Essex County District Attorney's Office responded. Massachusetts State Police and the Saugus Police Department arrived on scene. Foul play was immediately suspected, and the investigation was formally opened. Sherell's cause of death and the full circumstances were not publicly disclosed in the immediate aftermath. What would eventually be confirmed and later stated on record in open court is that Sherell Pringle had been stabbed more than 200 times. The injuries were so severe that the family was not able to hold an open casket funeral. Jimani Larian learned of his mother's death while being filmed by a local news crew. He had just finished speaking with reporters about the search. The camera captured the moment his family received the news. In the period between Sherell's disappearance and her discovery, Bruce Maiben's behavior drew sustained public attention. He was not initially named by authorities as a suspect. No charges had been filed. But several observable facts were noted by the community and later by media. Maiben had, consistent with his prior social media habits, posted Sherell's missing person flyer to his Facebook page. Because he had a history of sharing such content regularly, the posts did not immediately stand out as unusual to those who followed him. The flyer went up. People shared it. But underneath the post, the comment section became increasingly hostile as the community began connecting dots. At the same time, the family reported that Maiben was not cooperating with the investigation. He was not making himself available to law enforcement. He was not helping to locate Sherell. Jimani stated publicly that from the very first day, he had urged investigators to locate Bruce Maiben specifically, to ping his phone to find out where he was, and that those requests were not acted upon with urgency.
Everything ties back to he was the last person with her. If you're the last person with somebody that's missing, you should be the first one to help, the first one to the police, the first one, everything. But this guy don't want to be in contact with nobody. That's a sign right there.
The family's frustration with the pace of the official investigation was publicly documented from the beginning. On December 22nd, the day after Sherell's body was found, law enforcement made their move. Bruce Maiben was arrested on December 22nd, 2021. He was initially charged with larceny over $1,200, tampering with evidence, and obstruction of justice. He was not charged at that point with Sherell's murder. At his arraignment in Lynn District Court on December 23, 2021, a not guilty plea was entered on his behalf. The courtroom that day was not empty. Nearly 350 people attended, some in person, some via Zoom. Community members changed their Zoom display names to Justice for Sherell. The judge ended the proceedings abruptly after individuals began shouting at Maiben as he was escorted out. Multiple voices called out "Justice for Sherell Pringle," "And we found her." Maiben did not respond. His defense attorney, John Morris, stated to media afterward that his client denied the charges he was facing and that he did not kill his girlfriend. Morris further stated that from his review, the government did not have sufficient evidence to support the allegations at that stage. Approximately 1 month after the arrest, following a grand jury proceeding, Maiben was officially indicted and charged with first-degree murder. The case was transferred to Essex County Superior Court. The investigation involved multiple agencies operating in coordination: the Massachusetts State Police Detective Unit assigned to the Essex County District Attorney's Office, including Sergeant Thomas Sullivan and Trooper Stephen Hernandez; the Lynn Police Department, including Captain Christopher Kelly and Detective Timothy Ferrari; the Woburn Police Department, including Detective Jeffrey Caro; and the Boston Police Department. Prosecutors Kate McDougall and Assistant District Attorney Lindsay Nasson represented the Commonwealth, with victim witness advocate Rocky Yaniv also assigned to the case. The physical evidence assembled over the course of the investigation supported the prosecution's timeline. Maiben's claim that he had dropped Sherell off at her Woburn home between 3 and 3:30 in the morning was contradicted by Jemani's first-hand account. He was home, and she did not arrive. Her phone had been found in a catch basin in Lynn. Her purse had been found in Saugus along Route 107, near where her body was located. The evidence trail did not lead toward Woburn. It led in the opposite direction, and every point on that trail passed through the geography of that one early morning. Prosecutors also introduced the text messages Sherell had sent to a friend less than a week before she was killed. In those messages, she had told her friend she was done with Maiben and explained that he had broken into her home and threatened her with a knife. This was the documented record of the relationship's final turn: a threat, a forced entry, a decision to leave. The prosecution's position was that Maiben killed Sherell Pringle in the early morning hours of December 19, 2021, and that the motive was connected to her intent to end the relationship. A relationship that, according to available records, had only existed for a matter of months. The escalation from a new relationship to documented violence to murder had occurred within that same compressed window. The charging information placed the murder on the morning Sherell was last with Maiben, not later, not in another location, but within the hours that followed their final date. Her body bore the physical evidence of what occurred in those hours. Prosecutors confirmed the number of stab wounds at sentencing: more than 200. That figure, stated publicly by Pearl Garner in open court, explained why the family had no choice but to hold a closed-casket funeral. They could not present their daughter the way she had lived. They buried her the way she had been left. The case moved through the court system over the following years. Bruce Maiben maintained a not guilty plea throughout. His defense team consistently argued that the prosecution had failed to establish a direct link between Sherell's expressed desire to end the relationship and any action by Maiben. Specifically, they argued there was no proof that Maiben knew she intended to break up with him, and no proof that he would have reacted violently even if he had known. The prosecution's counter was built on the documented evidence: the knife threat, the break-in, the text messages, the discarded phone, the body's location, and the account of Maiben claiming he dropped her off when her own son confirmed she never arrived. The jury was being asked to evaluate not just what the defense claimed, but what the totality of documented behavior showed about the relationship the night of December 18th and the days that followed. In the fall of 2025, nearly 4 years after Sherell Pringle's body was recovered from the marsh in Saugus, the trial reached its conclusion. On November 3, 2025, a jury in Essex County found Bruce Maiben guilty of first-degree murder. 2 days later, on November 5, 2025, the Honorable Thomas Drexler sentenced Bruce Maiben to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was ordered committed to Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center. The sentence is the maximum available under Massachusetts law for a first-degree murder conviction. At sentencing, the family of Sherell Pringle was present and given the opportunity to address Maiben directly. Her mother, Pearl Garner, stood before the court and spoke to the man who had been convicted of killing her daughter. She called him scum. She told him he did not deserve to be walking this earth. She told him he would get what he deserved. She said she hoped he rotted in hell for what he did. Then she said, when Sherell was murdered, a piece of me died with her. Sherell's son, Jimani Larion, who had been 19 years old when his mother disappeared, who had filed the missing persons report, tracked her phone, pushed investigators, and was on camera when the news came that she had been found, described his mother at sentencing as a strong, independent woman and a dream chaser. Bruce Maiben sat through the victim impact statements in a light blue button-up shirt. He said nothing. Essex County District Attorney Paul F. Tucker issued a statement following the sentence. This verdict and subsequent sentence will ensure that the defendant will be held accountable for his senseless and atrocious conduct. Our hope is that the family and friends of Sherell Pringle can find some comfort in this outcome. What the record of this case shows is a documented sequence of choices made before December 18, 2021, and choices made in the hours, days, and years that followed. Sherell Pringle made one documented choice in that final week. She told someone she trusted that she was done. She had seen what was possible when she stayed. She said she was leaving. That decision, made in private and communicated to a friend, never made it to the people who could have helped her act on it with the urgency it warranted. The risk that exists in that moment, the documented, statistically supported risk that escalates precisely when someone tries to leave a relationship characterized by control and violence, is not an abstraction in this case. It is confirmed. It is on record. It is the reason a family spent 2 days in the cold, searching a marsh near a highway, and the reason a 19-year-old was on camera, mid-interview, when he found out his mother was gone 4 days before Christmas. Jimani said it himself about Maiben from the very beginning. If you're the last person with somebody that's missing, you should be the first one to help, the first one to the police, the first with everything. That is not a complicated standard. What Maiben did instead is part of the verified record. He shared a flyer. He told a story that could not be confirmed. He did not present himself to law enforcement voluntarily. He did not help. The warning signs in this case were not subtle after the fact. The break-in was real. The knife threat was communicated to someone Sherell trusted. The relationship was only a few months old, and violence had already entered it. Understanding how that pattern moves, and how quickly, is the only practical utility a case like this can offer to anyone still in a position to act on what they know. If someone in your life is describing a relationship that has crossed into threats, into forced entry, into intimidation, that information matters. There are people trained to help navigate what comes next safely. The National Domestic Violence Hotline can be reached at 1-800-799-7233 or by texting START to 88788. The call is confidential. What remains of this case is a life that was taken, a family that did the investigative work that was not done for them, and a verdict that took 4 years to arrive. Those are the confirmed facts. Everything else, every choice that made those facts inevitable, belongs to the person now serving life without parole in Souza Baranowski. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crimes. If this story made you think about the warning signs, about the systems that failed, about the family that refused to stop searching, consider liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. Because understanding the crime is how we prevent the next one.